5 listeners.
Welcome to Perhaps It's You, the unofficial Unsolved Mysteries podcast.
We don't have our official intro today.
I didn't write it down.
Yeah, just don't sue us, Unsolved Mysteries. And also, we're on episode 9. If you're watching along with Amazon.
That should be our introduction every time.
Please don't sue us, Unsolved Mysteries.
If you're listening, lawyers for Unsolved Mysteries.
This is an unofficial rewatch podcast. Do you have any updates for our listeners?
I have one, correction.
Okay.
Addition to our last, our last episode was our Halloween special. The episode before that, we once again forgot to rate the episode.
Oh, yeah, we sure did.
Which is funny because the episode before that, we forgot to rate the episode.
The last episode, the last case was such a bummer.
We got so distracted.
We got so distracted.
Can we move on?
That we're just like, let's not even think about this anymore because it was about the death of a 4-year-old and we just jumped right to the recommendations to cleanse the palate.
Also, we're very unorganized, as is already apparent
we are
today.
True professional. Yeah.
Exactly. Think back 2 weeks. What would you rate that episode out of Robbery Stacks?
I don't know. It was good, right?
I think so.
I don't even really remember. I know I liked the fashion in
5 out of 5 Robbery Stacks. I don't know.
Let's just say 4.
Okay, sure.
That one got 4. Do we have a most valuable mustache? I don't know.
It was those 2 guys from the prison reenactment.
Yeah.
The one with the curly red mustache where he had a really low cut prison uniform, and then the guy behind him that had the bushiest mustache beard combo.
How could I forget? If you want to see the mustaches that we discuss on the show, you need to follow our Instagram account that Samantha very successfully manages.
We're at Perhaps It's You.
Perhaps It's You.
There was also just a lot of mustaches in that episode, so I posted 4 honorable mentions for mustaches. They're all pretty great. They weren't as good as the guys that tied for MVM. But.
Sure. Well, how could they be? That's a high standard.
The highest of standards.
The highest of standards.
Hashtag most valuable mustache. If you search that hashtag on Instagram, you'll see all of them.
And also, that's just a fun thing to type.
Yes.
Right?
I enjoy it every time.
Let's see.
Do you have any other?
Yes, I want to thank Stephanie for taking our photos.
Stephanie's incredible.
Stephanie Mata, friend of the pod, took some promo photos of us with an inflatable alien.
She was
and they came out so good.
Not only did they come out good, but she was so on board. We're like, can we go into the woods and stand on this mulch pile and pretend that we're discovering a dead body? And she was like, sure.
She was like, yeah.
Go for it.
And I don't know, we look great. It doesn't look ridiculous that we're standing there with an inflatable alien. I mean, it looks like the right amount of ridiculous.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. I sent the photos the day after we got them to my fiance Travis, and he was like, how did that turn out so perfect?
I know.
The ones with Robbie Stacky, the alien
Robbie
in them.
Stacky, our inflatable alien, who's just right now half inflated on our porch because I had him sort of up as a Halloween decoration, the laziest Halloween decoration ever, where I just propped him up against the screen, and I was like, all right, I'm done decorating for Halloween. Here's an alien. But the photos are amazing. So thank you, Stephanie.
You can see them on our Facebook page and also on our Instagram. So follow us on and Twitter, actually. We're at Perhaps It's You on all platforms.
Yeah, if you want to see me do a terrible job at Twitter,
you do a great job at Twitter.
Follow us there.
I can't handle Twitter. I get overwhelmed by it. I've said this before. I'm just bad at Twitter. So I'll go on once a week.
It's its own weird world.
I'll look at what Liz has been posting and I'm like, wow, she does a great job. And then I immediately get off.
I finally got Unsolved Mysteries to one of my tweets.
Which I assume just means we're going to get sued.
Yeah, it makes me a slightly bit nervous, but...
They've seen us.
They know we're here. Not using any copyrighted material, so... I don't even think we are really erring on the side of caution, right?
I think so.
Please? Please say that's true, legal minds. So. Other update is that the Satanic Memorial that was supposed to be coming to Belle Plaine, Minnesota, has been canceled.
Oh, I'm shocked.
And now the Satanic Temple is suing Belle Plaine.
Oh, okay.
Because if you recall from a couple weeks ago, listeners, a slightly religious monument was made for veterans in the cemetery, which showed a soldier kneeling in front of a cross. So the Satanic Temple sued and said, then we get to put up a satanic monument.
Yes.
And there was a big legal hubbub about that. So Belle Plaine decided, okay, we'll make this free speech zone and you can put your monument in it. But they've retracted that.
The thing about that I don't quite understand, because the Satanic Temple isn't in Belle Plaine, right? There's not like a Satanic Temple down the street, on Main Street in Belle Plaine. They're from Michigan, I think. So it confuses me slightly that the Michigan Satanic Temple picked Belle Plaine, Minnesota to make this stand. I don't understand why. There's probably a reason. Maybe.
I'm assuming someone made a complaint that there was a religious monument on public property. And so they're sort of taking a stand for the separation of church and state. But
which is a stand I agree with, but I can also kind of see from the people of Belle Plaine standpoint that
I was like,
maybe a little bit of hostility.
Should let this go up because it'll be a great tourist attraction. Like Samantha and I would go see the Satanic Monument, and then I was like, that's probably the last thing
I was going to say they don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want Satanists.
In my mind, I was like, oh no, it'll be cool, and that'll get people to go to their little town. It's like, no, they don't want their little town overrun by Satanists. That's their worst nightmare.
Yeah. I guess we'll see.
Because there was supposed to be one in, I feel like Oklahoma was supposed to get a Satanic monument, and then that didn't end up happening for some reason. So this would be like the first one if it went up.
We will definitely go get our picture taken in front of it.
But see, that's what they don't want.
Yeah, but they can't stop us.
They can't stop us. If it actually exists.
So, yeah, if it ever goes up, you'll hear it from us.
Yeah.
So,
and you'll see our photo of me giving a peace sign in front of the Satanic monument, grinning from ear to ear. Finally.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like that was the only update.
That's all I
got.
Don't know. Should we jump into the mysteries?
Seems so long ago.
I know. It feels like forever since we've done this.
Since we pre-recorded our Halloween special, which I'm sure you all adored so much.
We got some good feedback about it. People seem to enjoy it.
Learned a little bit about the history of Halloween, and thanks to the state of Minnesota for trick-or-treating.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into episode 9. I have an unexplained death, and this is a very interesting case, and seems to me like quintessential Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh yeah,
because this has like layers of mystery to it, and is very mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the death of Kurt Sova. Not to be confused with Kurt McFall. We already did that one. It takes place in Ohio. So back on October 28th, 1981, 17-year-old Kurt departed for a Halloween party. He was not seen alive by his family again. So this is a Friday night. He goes out. His parents don't really know where he's going, but he's a good kid. They're not too worried about it. He never comes home. So they spend Saturday, which is unusual for him. Usually he was home by like 11. He never stayed out all night. So they spend Saturday looking for him, and by Sunday they report him as a missing person. They spend the weekend looking all over the town, putting up flyers. Eventually, his body is found in a ravine 5 days after his disappearance, but he's only been dead for a little over a day. So the mystery is, first of all, from the autopsy, it's not clear how he died.
That was one of the questions I had, which was how accurate was the time of death if they couldn't determine the cause of death?
That's a really good question, because I am a little dubious that this autopsy was well done.
I was too. It was a coroner who did the autopsy, right?
I think so.
And he just seemed fishy to me. I don't know. Something about the way he talked about it he had like 100% certainty that like the time of death was 100% right. And like typically when like people who are science minded never say like we can prove with 100% accuracy that something is true. They always say it suggests, like the evidence suggests that this is most likely. Point. He just spoke in a way that made me feel like I don't know.
It's very odd that a healthy 17-year-old would leave the house, be found dead, and then there'd be absolutely no cause of death. That's very odd.
It was odd to me, too.
It's also odd that he is found in a ravine and there don't seem to be signs of a fall. He didn't have shoes on. One shoe was found, and then the other shoe was never found.
The other question I wrote down regarding that was, how do they know that he was placed there? Because they said it appears that he was placed in this ravine. But what evidence? Was there drag marks? Was there
It seems like that was based
tire tracks?
Solely on the fact that there was not evidence of a fall to the body.
Yeah, but he wasn't like at the bottom of a cliff. He was in a wide open space.
Yeah.
So like he could have The other thing is that he was drinking heavily, which even though his mom says that he never drank, bless her heart, I'm pretty sure he did.
I mean,
all his friends were like he was drinking heavily. So what if he wandered
she said,
out there?
like, look, he wasn't much of a drinker. If his friends were drinking at this party, then he probably was drinking. She wasn't in total denial.
That's true. She said that he wasn't a drinker, so if he was drinking a lot, that he probably was a lightweight, essentially.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? He's 17. It sounds like he went to a party where he didn't know most of the people.
Mhm.
Like, maybe he got invited from a friend of a friend. So he goes to this Halloween party. Does he end up drinking too much because he doesn't know his tolerance, right?
Yeah.
Does he, I don't know, get alcohol poisoning? Someone brings him outside because he's sick, and then that's the last that anybody will admit to having seen him.
Admit to it.
Admit to it. Because when his mother, who was really a sweetheart,
I felt
and
bad for
my
her.
heart just goes out to her, was looking for him, she learned of this Halloween party. She went over to the duplex where it was, and they were denying that there had been a party. People were saying, oh, the person you're looking for is not home.
Mhm.
You know, she had that person call her, and she was, like, denying that anything had happened.
She seemed to point to this as being nefarious. I just thought if some lady shows up at your door and asks what a party you had last week, are you going to be like, yeah, we had a wild rager where everyone
Right.
was underage drinking?
yeah,
like, you're going to be
yeah.
like, no, lady, we didn't have a party. Like, that doesn't mean that they're keeping him in the basement on a cot, which is what she said.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, I think you would hope that if someone was missing, that you would be a little bit more forthcoming. Maybe they didn't know that this was the mom of a missing kid.
Yeah, to me, she just showed up and was like, was there a party? And this girl was like,
no, of course not. And then, I don't know, it turned out pizzas had been delivered there and all the neighbors knew they had a party. So that lie didn't really hold up.
No.
She found someone at the party who had brought him outside where he was sick. When that person went outside again, he was gone. Nobody, at least, is saying what happened to him after that. There's an eyewitness who, I think this was on Monday, didn't know he was missing or reported missing, and saw him get into a van with a friend. Not like he was pushed into a van or coerced into a van, but he's like walking down the street. He calls to someone named Franco, who no one knows who that is. And then he like hops in the van and drives off. And that guy was like, oh, I don't know who those people are. And then later found out he was missing and was like, oh, I should have done something. I was wondering, like, do we really think that eyewitness is credible?
No.
Yeah, I was like, that might have not even been him.
It was the weirdest story.
It's like someone driving down the street. I mean, I guess they were friends. I don't know. Sometimes I just think I see someone that I recognize and I don't. Yeah. Right? I'm like, oh, is that Samantha? And it's like, no, it's another blonde with a ponytail.
Right, exactly.
I don't know.
It didn't seem to hold up to me.
That didn't seem super
credible. You
credible.
can't corroborate it with anything. And
before Kurt's body was found, someone at the duplex called the home to say, it's possible Kurt is sleeping in the basement, which they didn't really confirm or deny. This is weird.
Yeah.
So Kurt's dad was like, it's just people fucking with you, essentially. And the mom was like, you have to check it out. You have to check it out. So he goes over there. He looks in the basement. There's no sign of Kurt. There is a cot. And then he was like, it's clearly someone slept in this cot. How do you know? Was it warm? I don't understand. He was like, someone was just here.
I don't know how they knew that.
How would you know that? It gave that impression, I guess. But also he's like desperate to find his son.
Yep.
And then a couple days later, he's found in a ravine where people had supposedly already searched. And supposedly he wasn't dead yet. So it seems like he was alive for a couple days while missing and then died and then placed in the ravine?
Yeah, so they're speculating that for some reason he like was kept in the basement against his will because he was sick or something, and his friends like were trying to keep him alive. I didn't really understand. It seems like the wackiest theory ever.
This case is unsolved, I'll say right now. No one knows what happened. And both of Kurt's parents have passed away by this point. So they went to the grave not knowing what happened. It's very mysterious because if we're to believe the autopsy, then he was alive but missing and not contacting his parents for a few days before turning up dead. Yep. Which, if you watched Riverdale, is kind of similar to that.
That's the strange part because you would have, in order to believe the simplest answer, which is he got drunk and wandered off, or perhaps he died from binge drinking at the party. His friends, quote unquote, panicked and then dumped him in a ravine.
that
Like, those
was
seem
my-
like the most basic explanations, but then you have to dismiss the autopsy findings.
That was my first assumption, was there was an accident or he died from alcohol poisoning, and the
Mhm.
people at the party who didn't know him that well didn't want to take responsibility for it and just ditched his body, which is sad and horrible, but
Yeah.
not particularly mysterious.
Right.
But that doesn't explain these missing days, and it doesn't
No.
explain how they searched the ravine
Yeah.
and didn't find him. And apparently he was wearing like brightly colored clothes.
Yeah,
Like,
I
there's
don't
no
know.
reason they would have missed him. There wasn't like a lot of brush or something.
Right. And the other thing I thought of was they mentioned in the Unsolved Mysteries segment that it was a chilly night and he didn't have his coat. And his friend, if you're going to believe him, brought him outside, went inside to get his coat. When he came out, Kurt was gone. So if he wandered off because he was completely wasted and got lost in the woods and died of exposure, that's another simple explanation, not
Right.
mysterious. But
Not-
again, we'd have to dismiss the autopsy findings.
Yeah. So it's just strange. There's another mysterious piece of the puzzle that I kind of just don't believe at all, which was that when they put up the flyers that Kurt was missing.
Oh my God, this.
One of them was on a record store window, and a guy came into the record store and said, "You might as well take that down. He's going to be found dead in 2 days and no one's going to know why." And the manager of the record store went, "Oh, that's weird." And the guy left, and then that's exactly what happened.
Wasn't it actually like a teenage girl or something that was...
She was the manager.
Oh, she was? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought there's just a lot of bored kids in this town that think it's funny to like play these jokes on people.
Sort of just felt like she entirely made that up.
Yeah, they're getting bored and making up these stories because this is the most exciting thing that's happened in their town in a long time, right?
And yeah, supposedly this guy was like a drifter from Detroit.
And he wore a trench coat
Yeah,
in the reenactment.
and then they police questioned him, but Kurt hadn't been found dead yet, so they let him go. It all seemed like horseshit to me. I didn't believe any of it.
Me neither.
But that's supposedly an element that makes it a little creepier, I guess.
Yeah.
Except that I just think that she's lying.
Yep.
I'm
Me too.
sorry.
Same with that
That's
kid
my
in the
personal
van.
opinion. I think the kid in the van is like legitimately just wrong.
Yeah, maybe he saw someone get into a van, but
Yeah, I think he's just mistaken. I don't know that he's like
making something
trying to
up.
get attention or something. I just, eyewitness testimony is just not so reliable.
Right.
And
That's true.
you saw people get in a van. I don't know. Maybe he saw Kurt get in a van, but that doesn't explain to me why he wouldn't have told his parents where he was, because they were so genuinely distraught, and there wasn't like they had a fight, or I don't know. It seems like if he was avoiding his parents would have been more aware of that, right?
Right, they seem to think he was a good, normal kid, and then suddenly they're speculating that he's hiding from them because he was drinking. So he slept in a basement for 5 days or something. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with a theory that, if you accept all of these pieces of evidence, it's really hard to come up with a theory that incorporates all of these details.
Yes.
The other thing that is strange is that after Kurt's death, a friend of Kurt's, or at least someone Kurt knew, was also found dead in a ravine a few miles away.
Yes.
And that is Eugene Kett. He was 13, so they probably weren't great friends. Okay, yeah, he was an acquaintance of seven. This is off of Unsolved Mysteries Wiki, which is
the best.
my savior. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a ravine 2.5 miles away. He was also found missing a shoe, except that there's not this missing time element to Eugene's death, and it's also evident that he died from a fall.
Okay.
So it seems like it's just a weird, horrible coincidence.
Yeah. They were like the same shoe was missing. So
I mean,
this is evidence of
Eugene fell,
Yeah.
though. So I'm assuming one of his shoes fell off in a fall.
right.
Not that there's nothing else to suggest his body was moved. They know how he died. It doesn't seem like he was kept somewhere. They just happen to be from the same area. I mean, it's sad. And also both of Eugene's parents have passed away.
So it's possible this will never be solved.
I don't think it will be. It does seem like a case where someone knows something. Like
Yeah.
someone at that party probably has more information than they were willing to come forward with.
Yeah, I agree.
But at this point, if they haven't come forward by now, it seems pretty unlikely they will. And considering Kurt's parents have already passed away,
That's a bummer.
it's a bummer.
Mm.
But if you want to leave Kurt a note, you can go on Find a Grave.
Yeah.
Say goodbye.
Leave a little note on Kurt's Find a Grave page.
Yeah.
Something to brighten the mood. There was a guy who I think could be on MVM in this segment.
Oh, okay.
It was Lieutenant Robert Karras. And I wrote down, and it's been several days since I watched this, so I'm having trouble picturing it. I'm just going off my notes. I wrote down tall mustache, a lot of surface area between the nose and lip.
A lot of surface area.
So I'm gonna have to go back and get a screenshot because I haven't yet.
That's amazing.
But
sure.
I knew, it struck me enough that I like highlighted it as being a potential MVM. The other thing that I loved about the reenactments for this segment was how much denim.
Oh yeah.
Was.
The
So
fashion in this
much
episode is
denim.
great.
So much
And
high-waisted denim with denim jackets.
with denim jackets. So you're getting practical Canadian tuxedos. Yeah, really, really good looks.
Yep.
I liked the mom's glasses. Yeah, the Kurt reenactments. Apparently, he only owned denim items of
Apparently
clothing.
all the kids in this town only wore denim.
You know what? That's probably pretty realistic. This Halloween party looked lame because no one was dressed up, but maybe
I actually didn't even remember that it was a Halloween party till you just said that.
Maybe
Because it didn't look like
that-
one at all.
that just reveals what I want in a Halloween party and not what 17-year-olds pretending to be cool
It
want
didn't
in a
even look
Halloween
like
party.
a cool party if it
No,
wasn't
it looks-
Halloween. It was just a bunch of kids standing around.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what parties are, but it looked
this shows
bad.
how much partying I did as a kid. I'm like, this looks lame.
Yeah. Oh, I wrote down that the local record store seemed to only serve creeps in sunglasses because not only was the person that supposedly came in and said, "Take down that flyer," wearing a trench coat and sunglasses, but the like extra just shopping in the store was dressed the same way, which is that's
That's
just, like,
what goes
the
to
old-
record stores,
That's
Liz.
just, oh, okay.
Youths in trench coats.
Youths in trench coats wearing sunglasses inside. Yeah. It is an interesting case. There's just not. We just don't know.
Oh, bummer.
Bummer.
This is the downside of some Unsolved Mysteries segments, that some of them are still Unsolved Mysteries. And
yeah.
they probably always will be.
That one. I don't really see how they could
Solve it.
now. It does seem like the autopsy maybe was not the best. They were calling it a diagnosis by exclusion,
Yeah. I
ruling it
remember
a
that.
probable accident, and that basically just means we don't know.
Yeah.
That's,
is another
that's
reason
science
why-
for just shrugging.
Basically, yeah, that's another reason why I didn't find him very credible. But I mean, we have no reason not to,
Yeah.
other than gut feelings. We don't have any reason
No,
to dismiss the
no.
autopsy. So it is mysterious.
Mysterious and go to better Halloween parties, I think,
Yes.
is the lesson here. And I'm sorry for Kurt.
Me too. So the next one is a Lost Loves.
Oh, lost
Our
loves.
favorite type of non-mysteries. So
Yeah, really not very mysterious, but go on.
it's not mysterious, but these tend to be kind of sweet stories. So
It's a good balance to horrible deaths.
that's true. It's nice to sprinkle in some lost loves.
Get a
mysteries.
little hope.
So in April 1975, in South Vietnam, Saigon fell to the North Vietnamese. Robert Stack says that thousands of refugees fought to leave the country. One of them was John Nellis, who was the son of a Vietnamese woman and an American soldier. In the middle of the night, John and his wife-to-be, Vivian, jumped into the back of a truck for the first step in a journey that would take them to the United States. They narrowly avoided being shot by angry South Vietnamese troops.
Which Unsolved Mysteries clearly blew all their budget on that reenactment.
Yes, with
Where
the helicopters.
Guys
and-
shooting at trucks. I was like, whoa.
There was some,
Yeah.
high production value for this segment.
By Unsolved Mystery standards.
Yes.
Yes. By no other standard.
John is interviewed by Unsolved Mysteries, and he says that he was terrified and that he was thinking the whole time, will we make it? He goes on to say that we thought we were getting a chance to get out of the country, but we didn't know exactly where we were going, which sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They did manage to escape, but Robert Stack says that the turmoil in John's life continues. And then we launch into the life story of John's father, Melvin. So Melvin Nellis was an American serviceman whom John's mother met during the mid-1940s in Chongqing, China. Melvin Nellis was stationed in Chongqing during the Chinese Revolution, When John was 5 years old, his father was shipped back to the United States. Unfortunately, and it's not explained why, John's father and mother were not legally married, so she had no rights to go with him to the United States.
And those reenactments were the most, like, loveless family reenactments ever.
Yeah, he was like, I have to leave now, bye.
And she's, like, making him dinner, and I don't know.
They
Like,
were-
there was,
yeah.
like, absolutely no chemistry between those people to the point where it seems
None.
like they hated each other. Which
And-
might just be those actors. I
I think they're just not very good actors.
She's like, here's some rice. And he's like, yeah, thanks.
pretty
That was his
much.
family life.
Pretty much. I wish they would have explained why they hadn't gotten legally married. They had 5 years after John was born. You'd think that his father would have known that if I ever get shipped back to the United States, my family can't come with me unless we're married. So,
Yeah.
like, why not get married?
I think he didn't really want them to come.
that might be true because he kind of just disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down that Melvin promised to write his wife, but eventually the letters just stopped. And then I put in parentheses, what a dick.
Yeah, that's just cruel.
And John never heard from his father again. So maybe you're right. Maybe he actually didn't want them to come
I
with,
don't think he did.
which is sad.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
That's just my own personal theory.
I mean, that might be true. Because why would you stop writing to your family?
Yeah, I mean, he never gets in touch
And
with them again.
never tries to get them to the United
No.
States. Certainly he knows how the military works. He knows that he has to be married in order for her
Right.
and his child to come with.
It seemed like he was, away playing house. And then eventually was like, well, I'm going to get back to my real life now.
Yeah,
and,
that was fun. Bye.
and didn't really care about these people.
I agree. John's mother was originally from South Vietnam, so in 1952 she moved back. John's mother worked her ass off selling produce and saved enough money for him to go to private schools.
Which, oh my God, how
Incredible. It said, I think I wrote down, it took her 2/3 of her income to send him to a school where he could get a Western education and learn English.
amazing.
Because her plan all along was to eventually get him to the U.S. Because in 1955, she took him to the U.S. Embassy in Saigon to register him for immigration because she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to take care of him. I mean, she can't support both of them, but it's giving away almost all her income to send him to a good school. She was able to prove that his father was an American citizen, so that benefited him later on when he was trying to get out of the country. So his mom really set him up for success, basically. He learned English, he got a good education, and she
just
basically like
sacrificed-
pre-registered him so that he could go to the U.S. and
She sacrificed everything for him.
she did.
After his dad was a deadbeat.
It's amazing, and it doesn't say what happened to her. Like, it doesn't say if she
I
got
know.
out of Vietnam.
I know. We don't
'Cause
know.
John and Vivian got out, but this is the last we hear about John's mother. We don't know if she also got out or if she was left behind, which is very sad. John went on, so after he was still a kid at that point, and then it kind of skips ahead in his life. He went on to meet a woman and have a child with her, but then she left him in 1971 with their kid. The woman later married an American Marine, and John thought that she took his son to the U.S., which we learned later was not true. Anyway, back to the fall of Saigon, John and Vivian, who's
This guy's had a complicated
he's had
life.
a complicated life. Later, he meets this woman named Vivian and gets engaged. They barely made it out. They were on one of the last planes that left Vietnam. When they arrived in America, they soon found out that John's son had never made it to the U.S. and he was still in Vietnam. So they assumed that she ran off with him to America because she married a Marine. That wasn't true, which is really sad. John and Vivian get married, and they live in a wealthy part of Orange County. John is an electronics technician. They became citizens in 1986, and they have a 3-year-old daughter named Vienna, who's super cute. In the update, I wrote down, Robert Stack comes out of the shadows in a trench coat to tell us that thanks to the broadcast, John learned that his father is now retired and living in Tokyo.
Which I was sort of like, I realized that Tokyo is not China and is not Vietnam. But I was a little bit like, seriously, guy, you moved back to Asia and never tried to get in contact with your son?
Yeah. So, and it didn't really say if they're like in contact. It just says that he learned where his father is. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I was sort of like, fuck you, guy.
Pretty much. It just seems like a huge dick move to not make an effort to support your child.
I just feel like if once he found his father and the father was like, oh my goodness, I've spent all this time trying to find you, that would have been included in the update.
Yeah, it wasn't. It just said that he found out where his father is.
It was just like, we know where their dad is.
It doesn't say that they reconnected.
No. So,
but it did say that incredibly, 3 weeks after John was after he found out about his father, John was reunited with his son Daniel. It had been more than 17 years. Somehow they were able to fly him from Vietnam. It didn't say how they arranged that, to the US where he met his father. The reunion was super cute. His father had like an American flag. His son looked so excited. And his son, I guess, went on to live with them in America. Daniel's outfit was a little distracting. I don't even know what that print was that he was wearing. It was like a time capsule.
I'm sure that was his nicest shirt.
It was.
I remember my brother having a lot of shirts like that.
It was so oversized. It had this weird floral print.
Yeah.
But it was really sweet, and he was so excited.
He was really excited. They shared the world's most awkward hug.
Yep.
Because
it's
imagine.
on camera,
No,
so.
That's the thing. Like, imagine you're coming to a country you've never been to before. You're meeting your father you haven't seen in 17 years. You're also meeting your stepmom and a sister that you've never met before. And TV cameras are there, and people are speaking a language that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, he didn't know English at all.
And Robert Stack was like, "Oh, it was overwhelming for Dan." I was like, "You think?" Like, it's basically like everything is happening at once. But he was very excited to see his dad and start his new life. And I mean,
it had a sweet ending.
I wish that family all the best. Oh my god.
Yeah, I wish I knew what they. I mean, I'm assuming they went on to do great things.
Let's just
it sounds
assume.
like John and Vivian really picked themselves up from nothing and went on to live.
Yeah, he had like a good job. He had become an American citizen. It's the like sort of immigrant story that every conservative loves, of like hard work and this and that.
It's the American dream.
You overcome
story.
your circumstances, because this guy had a very complicated, chaotic life of running from one conflict to another, being abandoned by his dad,
and then going on to have a good job and a wife and kid and live in a mansion in Orange County.
Yeah,
it was. I mean,
you're right. It literally is the American dream.
Yeah.
So I wish all the best for them.
Yeah.
I hope Daniel got some better shirts, but other than that,
it was
they
great.
seem super nice.
I hope John's mother had a happy ending to her story.
That's the part I guess we don't know.
We never heard.
And it seems like his dad's kind of a dick, but
that's that.
That's that. A little bit of a contrast to Boy Dead in Ravine.
And Priest Killers, which is what's coming up next.
Priest Killers. Which is
the
my
only thing
mystery.
I wrote down about your mystery is that Robert Stack says when and where.
Yeah, that's true.
That's literally my only note. I don't remember anything else.
I
put a lot of effort into this episode, guys.
We are professionals. There's a reason we are the #1 podcast on iTunes.
Oh my goodness. Priest Killer, take it away.
Priest Killer. This is considered unexplained death. I mean, he's murdered, so is it really that unexplained? This is the death of Father Ronaldo Rivera that takes place out of Santa Fe, New Mexico in August 7th of 1982. I sort of enjoyed this mystery because I used to live in New Mexico, not in Santa Fe, but in Las Cruces. So I just felt like a little like nostalgic, like, oh, I like seeing these like New Mexico landscapes and hearing New Mexico accents and stuff. But it's not actually like a fun story. I just kind of enjoyed watching it.
It's actually a tragedy.
It's also a tragedy. Well, okay. Well, tragedy? Is that a phrase? Sure. Tragedy. Okay. So on the evening of August 7th, 1982, a call was placed to the rectory of St. Francis Cathedral in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The caller claimed he was with his grandfather, who was about to die and needed the last rites. The first priest who answered the phone was like, oh, I can't drive at night because he's an old man. Can you call back in 15 minutes and we'll get you another priest? So he calls back exactly 15 minutes later, and Father Ronaldo Rivera picked up the call. The caller wanted him to administer last rites at a rest stop near Waldo, New Mexico.
First red flag.
At a rest stop?
Yeah, if you're dying at a rest stop, you need to call the police, not a priest.
I mean, yeah, like
he's dying peacefully at a rest stop.
Yeah, he's dying peacefully of old age at a rest stop. I mean, I think the idea was that he would get picked up there, but
that was like their rendezvous spot.
But why not just like go to the house or go to the hospital?
Another red flag.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So Father Rivera gets in his car, drives to the rest stop, which is about 20 miles away, and he doesn't return. So he's reported missing. Hundreds of citizens from Santa Fe volunteered to search for him, which just did kind of warm my heart. I feel like New Mexico has a real like community attitude where I feel like while I was there was like, if something happens to me, like everybody's going to
People are going to comb the desert to find your
absolutely.
body.
I feel like, it has that kind of community spirit. And apparently tons of people knew Father Rivera. He was like a well-known, well-respected priest.
Sure.
He had touched a lot of lives, right? So everybody was out looking for him. And his body was found 3 miles from the rest stop 3 days later, and he had been shot. The police began gathering evidence for the case, and they theorized that the killers, which they're convinced it was more than one person, were waiting for him in the rest area, and when he arrived, they overpowered him at gunpoint. So the cop is talking about this on Unsolved Mysteries. I don't.
You can see Liz's face right now. She's trying to come up with a nice way of saying what she's about to say.
Yeah, I don't think he's the brightest bulb. I really don't want to be cruel about this, but when he was saying like, oh, I feel like, Father Rivera would have put up a fight and it would have taken more than one man to overpower him. This is an old man.
Yeah.
Being taken by surprise at a rest stop by someone. And he was like, well, we know he had a gun because he was shot. I was like, that's some really amazing detective work right there. Thank you for that great insight. Yeah, do you think that one person with a gun could have shot him? Absolutely.
He also didn't seem to understand, like, if you have a gun, like, that's enough. You don't actually have to overpower someone if you have a gun and you're like, I'm going to shoot you if you don't do this.
Priest, get in the car or I'll shoot you.
He didn't seem to understand that.
The priest isn't going to, like, karate chop his gun out of his hand and, like, do some sort of roundhouse kick in his face, right? Like,
this is a little old man priest.
So I reject that theory. I reject the fact that proves there's 2 killers. Anyway, the car had been moved from the rest stop. It was hidden, and they eventually found the car, but there was no additional evidence in it. The police had a few leads, but it grew cold. And then 2 years later, Unsolved Mysteries is trying to convince you that there's a connection to another death of a priest. But it's 2 years later, Father John Kerrigan of the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Ronan, Montana, vanished. The next day, several bloody clothes were found at a highway by a fruit vendor. And then the next week, his car was found 5 miles away with blood on it. After his wallet was found with like a shocking amount of money. I think it was like $1,200. And I was like, why does a priest
carry around that much cash?
1,200 cash. Oh, anyway, that seemed suspicious to me. But his body has never been found. A bloody coat hanger was also found with his clothes. They both belong to the Order of Franciscans. I'm not Catholic. That means nothing to me.
No, I assume it just means they were both priests. Like, the only thing connecting these guys was that they were priests. And they were murdered.
Yeah,
that's
they didn't know each other. They both received a phone call before they were killed. But we don't actually know how Father Kerrigan died. His body was never found. The motive was not believed to be robbery because he had all that money, but his last rites kit was taken or was missing from his car anyway. Yeah, both are actually still unsolved. Unsolved Mysteries was suggesting that there was a serial killer going after priests based on 2 seemingly unrelated deaths. Yeah. That one detective did think it was true, which makes me think it's definitely not true.
The thing that I thought about when I was watching this segment is, like, if you're trying to rob someone, or maybe you just want to kill someone, and you're like, who can I get to come to me in the middle of the night? Well, I can get a priest, because I can call up this priest and say, I'm with someone who's dying. They need their last rites. And they're going to come. And they're not going to be armed, right? That's probably going to be a little defenseless old man. So...
Right.
He seemed like a vulnerable victim. If you're someone trying to rob someone.
Another reason that these 2 cases don't seem similar to me is in the first case, he gets one priest, and that guy's like, I can't drive at night. I'll get you call back in another priest. That doesn't seem to be to a specific person, right? Like, it doesn't seem like a specific person is targeted. Maybe they just wanted to rob him. I'm not really sure. But the second case, it does seem like Father Kerrigan was specifically targeted.
Right.
Like, it wasn't just any priest. And actually, while neither of these cases are solved, it turns out that Father Kerrigan is allegedly suspected of child molestation.
Okay. So you could see why he might have been targeted.
So to go like, oh, he was a priest, he didn't have any enemies. Well, like, this is like pre-spotlight, right? This Unsolved Mysteries case. Who would go after these priests? Oh. Maybe the victim or the family member of, a victim targeted Father Kerrigan. Were any of those allegations proven? No, but he is on a list of allegedly abusive priests.
Okay.
There's no information like that about Father Rivera, and also it doesn't seem like he was specifically targeted. They were just trying to get a priest to come out to that truck stop.
Right.
So I don't think these two cases are connected.
I don't think so. There's no evidence really, except they're both priests.
They're 1,000 miles away, and they're actually not that similar. The idea of being gagged by a coat hanger sure is gross.
Ugh.
But if he's actually a child molester, do I really care? Can't claim that I do. Sorry. Yeah. If he's like that priest from The Keepers, good. Let's all go spit on his grave. That he doesn't have because no one found his body. So the case of Father Rivera is a little bit more mysterious. Is that like a robbery gone wrong?
Right.
Is that
it really did seem like if you're trying to get someone to come out in the middle of the night, call a priest. I don't know. I have nothing to back that up, but it seems plausible.
I don't know. It's not solved. He's shot. Yeah, if one person's being gagged with a hanger and one person's just being shot, again, not similar.
No.
I think that detective meant well.
He was trying his best.
But I really was watching it like, I should have got into law enforcement. I would be
You'd be
way
great
better.
at it.
No, I would be terrible at it. But I was like, I would be better than this guy. No matter how bad I was. Sorry to that dude if he's still out there. Yeah, I just wrote down that they showed Father. Wait, which one? Sorry, Kerrigan. He was like a new priest in town, and they showed him going to this truck stop to like mingle with his constituents or whatever you call them.
Constituents? His congregants?
His congregants.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. And I was like, oh my god, this truck
same
stop.
def.
Yeah, same def. Whatever. They vote for you, right?
Sure.
Vote for priest.
Right. Sure.
Number one priest. My total lack of religious background is becoming like really apparent right now. Anyway, truck stop, so cute. I want to go there. Where's
the truck stop was pretty quaint.
It was so adorable. That's literally my last note on this case.
Sure.
Was love this truck stop. Bloody hanger gag. Ew, gross. We are professionals.
Oh my goodness.
That is the case of Father Ronaldo Rivera, unsolved.
And now for the
We've been waiting for this day, 5 listeners.
I'm so excited to talk about this mystery.
Finally here.
Oh,
it's just like Christmas, but
this
better.
Is the best day.
Yeah.
This is
Take it away, Samantha.
the magic rock. If we find a magic rock, we will be the #1 podcast on iTunes.
We're also going to open a candy store.
Yes. So Robert Stack opens this story by saying that it is part Tom Sawyer and part Huck Finn, and also part fairy tale.
I think I'm just going to laugh the entire time we're talking, and I'm sorry. I can't help it.
I just wrote, no, it isn't.
It's really not. It really has nothing to do with any of those things.
No, there's boys playing in the woods. That's the only Tom Sawyer-esque.
He just said a lot of words.
Yeah.
That means nothing. It's just word salad.
2 boys in the state of Washington find a large rock covered in strange symbols deep in the forest. Then a phenomenal run of good luck occurs. Is it a coincidence or something more?
Or is this entire story completely made up? Which would be my theory, but go on.
Saturday, May 14th, 1988, deep in an isolated stretch of woods near the Canadian border.
Where? Where near the Canadian border? I want to find this rock.
If it's still there, we need to find it. 13-year-old Jamie Parr takes his friend Trevor Johnson along a creek. Jamie had found a special rock and was excited to show his best friend.
That's an adorable vision of childhood. Right, if you found like a really cool rock.
They're like running through the creek.
Yeah.
It sounds exciting. If I was a kid, I'd be excited. So what they find is definitely not a huge rock covered in bad graffiti.
No,
the
of course
kids
not.
In the reenactment speculate about where the writing could have come from. They discuss the possibility that people eons and eons ago may have scribbled it on the rock with a stick.
Sure.
Or, they pose, perhaps Martians came down from outer space and made the strange symbols. So
yeah,
these are their theories.
They're children, and they're entitled to those theories.
Sure. One of the boys in the reenactment asserts that the only way someone could have carved those symbols in the rock would have been if the rock had been clay, or if it had been done by a space-age tool or something.
Yes.
So clearly they don't understand how rocks work.
I like that the kid's like, maybe Martians came and did it. It's really neat. Which is a really great, like, little white boy phrase. It's really neat.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
So Trevor says that they should go tell his dad, which makes sense. That's what little boys do. Trevor's dad, who I wrote needs to win MVM because he has a perfect half moon mustache.
I wrote down MVM, Steve Johnson - rock believer.
If you turned your computer or whatever you're watching Unsolved Mysteries with sideways, it would be it would be like a waning crescent moon.
Yeah, he has a crescent moon on his lip.
It's
and
beautiful.
He wins.
It's a fantastic mustache, Trevor's dad. So he's interviewed for Unsolved Mysteries, and he says, I felt just an immediate need to go down and see this rock. Upon seeing the rock, Trevor's dad says...
That's just a need that I've never felt in my life.
At first you think this is really cute. Like, his sons come and say, Dad, we found this really cool rock. And he's like, let's go see this rock. Like, it sounds like a cute thing, like a dad. Like, yeah.
Sure.
Like most dads would be like, fucking leave me alone. You know, but his dad was like, no, I'm going to go down to the creek with you and look at this rock. But then, like, you can tell that Trevor's dad is, like, super into this. He says, I turned and there was this beautiful rock with these markings on it. I've never seen anything quite like it. He goes on to say that I got a very immediate feeling that this rock had something to say. It really had something very positive to say about life to me.
What? What?
I don't know.
What was the thing that it had to say?
I don't know what it was saying to him, but then he's shown in his, like, police uniform. He's a corrections officer.
Yeah, when he goes to see the rock, is he holding a gun?
He's like, it's on his hip. He's, like, sitting in the stream, right? And he's, like, he's sitting down, he's stroking the rock, looking at it, like he's just speaking very important things to him.
It might be a walkie-talkie, but like
I didn't notice. I was so distracted by his face because he's looking at this rock like it's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen.
And Mac was like, is he holding a gun? But I think it's a walkie-talkie. Like, he was like, over, magic rock.
I go back and look. I don't even know. Oh my god! But I'm just you have to watch this episode of Unsolved Mysteries just for the reenactments on the rock.
You do,
because they're playing like this like gentle flute music in the background, nature sounds.
It's like you're at a Renaissance fair, or maybe playing some part of Legends of Zelda.
Oh my god!
Yeah, because that's the sound of magic, a flute.
Yeah, you know, it's just.
The first time I watched this, I was like, oh my god, I just watched an Unsolved Mysteries about a magic rock. Like, what am I doing?
That's literally what this is.
What am I doing with my life? And now I've watched it like 4 or 5 times and I've made other people. Like, at first I was like, I'll never get that time back. Why did I do? What am I doing?
Like, everyone, stop what you're doing
and watch this
You
magic
don't have to
rock.
watch the rest of the episode. Skip to the last one. It's so good.
Trevor, so how did their luck change once they saw this rock, Samantha?
Well, first of all, Trevor's mom says that when I first saw the rock, I had the most eerie feeling. She says it was a positive feeling, but that you just can't say the words that the rock makes you feel.
I wrote that down too. And I just wrote, you sure can't.
So then, basically, the Johnsons family begins to have a string of good luck that they attribute to the rock. They had been struggling financially previous to this. Trevor's mom took a job as a receptionist to help pay the bills, but they still found themselves in debt. Trevor's dad hated his job. They lived in a small, shabby apartment. Part of what put them in financial hardship was that they decided to open a shop in a new mall in town.
Yeah, that's a bad financial plan when you're struggling.
They had hoped that the business endeavor would help their financial situation. Like, Trevor's mom quit her job to work at the shop, which didn't seem like the best decision. Unfortunately, the plan backfired because construction ran behind schedule.
Which is what always happens.
Yeah, and their financial situation actually got worse. However, just 48 hours after seeing the rock for the first time, the family's luck changed dramatically.
So good thing they saw that rock.
We gotta find a rock, you guys. We could really use one. The first thing that happened is that the owner of the new mall called and said that he wanted them to open a 1,000 square foot shop in the mall, and this guy even agreed to foot the bill for the inventory, which is that was good luck. 3 weeks later, they opened a dress shop, which was a huge success.
It looks really awful.
3 days after that, it looked so like dank and dusty and dark.
It's for a new shop.
I was like, this doesn't look great, but there was a lot of customers, so I guess. But then
I guess it worked out for them. But I just wrote, sorry, this store looks awful. Steve, I'm a judgmental bee.
But Steve, Trevor's dad, was offered a job managing the mall's only movie theater. The mall's owners were so impressed with Steve that in less than a month they let him buy the theater outright for a low price.
the movie theater is a one-screen theater, and if it's true what they showed in the reenactment, it was showing Willow, the movie Willow, and nothing else. It just says Willow on the marquee.
My
Amazing.
3 months and 1 day after he saw The Rock, Steve opened a candy store, which was his third successful business. And then shortly before the Unsolved Mysteries broadcast, the Johnsons were offered a 5-bedroom house rent-free for 4 years in exchange for making repairs to the house.
Because clearly the house is haunted.
Yeah. Duh.
Why else is someone making this deal?
Or the magic rock worked its magic on their life. So the Johnsons are convinced that it was the rock that was responsible for their good fortune and not simply their hard work and dedication. So Unsolved Mysteries has an archaeologist examine the rock. And the archaeologist, get ready to be shocked, folks, determined that, and Robert Stack calls them petroglyphs, were not carved by Native Americans. What? In fact, the archaeologist believes that the symbols were made in this century and have no religious or magical significance.
Oh no. My world just came crashing down. How can that possibly be true?
How could it just be...
That guy's face, like, really? You brought me out here to look at this? Like, what? I have better things to do.
Do you think that was
I'm trying
the
to get
magic
tenure.
rock that they went
No. Actually, this is my theory about this episode. 100% made up. I don't believe 1 second of it. I think...
This is an Unsolved Mysteries conspiracy theory.
Yes, I am. I think that too many segments are downers, and they wanted something to lighten it up a little bit. They're like, we're tired of dead bodies in ravines and dead 4-year-olds in TV boxes. We need a happy story. And then people are like, happy stories aren't really that mysterious. And they just invented this rock story. That is my theory. I don't believe any of it.
It
I don't believe this family thinks. I don't even think they think this. I don't believe in the rock.
They're just actors.
I think they're just actors. I don't think any of this is even remotely true. I think they just wanted a feel-good story for once because most of it is so depressing.
If we don't have a cease and desist letter in the mail, it's coming now. You're accusing Unsolved Mysteries of fabricating a magic rock story.
They say at the beginning of everything, this is not a news broadcast.
That's true.
So
That's true. They don't claim that this is real.
I guess, so I think, I think these are actors. They're probably not even a family. They probably don't even have a candy store.
Yeah, probably. So the very end of the segment is basically the Johnsons don't believe what the archaeologist said, and we jump to a scene again with Steve sitting by the creek, and we hear the soft flute music, and he's stroking the rock and looking at it with gratitude in his eyes.
I want us to find the rock. Do you think we would be good at running a candy store together?
We just eat all the candy.
Yeah.
I would be terrible at running a candy store. I don't know about you. You'd probably do fine. You'd be like, Samantha, stop eating all the candy. We need to sell that.
I mean, I think after a while we'd probably get sick of candy and just hate the whole enterprise.
Yeah, that's probably true. The very last part of this is that Robert Stack says that most of us would call what the Johnsons experienced a coincidence. But who knows? Sometimes the line between coincidence and something more is an unsolved mystery. And then he dropped the mic.
He looked like he was going to burst out laughing that
Pretty
whole
much.
time.
He just had this like twitchy smile on his face.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't smile and let everyone know I think this is ridiculous.
I think it's because he knows it's all a lie. He is wearing a terrible outfit for this segment. His jacket and pants totally clash. I don't know who dressed him.
I think I wrote down that Robert Stack finally ditched the suit jacket, but he has really high-waisted pants.
He looks awful. This is the worst we've seen him look. And I think he was like, I can't take this seriously. This is about a stupid rock.
Oh, this is this and the Kurt McFall case.
This is what it's all about,
Some
folks.
of our favorites.
You have to watch this magic rock thing because
it's so funny.
The idea that this was put on television as a true story is just
so funny.
So amazing.
But maybe it's true. Maybe the rock had magic
The
powers.
fact that they didn't even really kind of claim where the rock was also seems like a red. It's just by the Canadian
they
border.
Don't want everyone going out there, Liz. If this rock really had magic powers, though, like, we need to harness it. Like,
yeah,
pass it around. Like,
does
everyone
the
in the
Johnson
country.
family get to keep it all for themselves?
That's
with
what I said. Yeah.
Their small business empire in this mall, which they couldn't even let one business succeed. They had to immediately acquire more and more because of the rock.
This is a monopoly.
The rock. Yeah. Share the wealth. Don't just say it's by the Canadian. At least tell me what
Send
state
it to
it's
us.
in. Is
So
it in Minnesota?
The #1 podcast on iTunes.
Yeah, that's what we're going to use the rock for.
Yeah.
Since I spend a lot of this podcast talking about places Samantha and I should go, that brings me to the subject of King Spa, which is a Korean spa. There's a few locations of it.
Does it have magic rocks?
It does have magic rocks.
What?
So there's one in Niles, Illinois. I think there's one in New Jersey and one in Houston. They're gigantic Koreans. We love Korean skincare. They're giant Korean spas that you can stay at 24 hours. You can sleep there. You can get food there. They give you little uniforms when you check in, and then you get like a card or something so you can just like keep paying for services.
Oh my
you
God.
can get your dinner. You can like sleep in a recliner. And it has all these different sauna rooms. So some of them are like salt walls. Then they all have like different properties. One has like a giant pyramid in it.
Oh, where's the Korean face mask? Sheet mask room.
Yeah, that I don't know. But the reason
that's the one I would be in the whole time.
That better be a room. But
I want a body mask, you know, it just covers my whole body.
The reason that I brought it up is because while Samantha and I were constantly talking about this magic rock, I learned of King Spa, a place I've never been, and therefore cannot recommend. But it does have what they call the base rock room.
Oh.
For an extra $5, you can go in the
What a steal!
You can go in the base rock room, which is a facility patented by Mr. Ono, which is exclusive only to Japan, Chicago, and Dallas, and not even available in South Korea. Whoa. The ground is made of stones, which are good for walking on and relieving the stress that has built up. However, the main attraction is the mineral stone imported from Japan called Soraka that is said to have amazing healing abilities. The stone slab is surrounded by amethyst crystals and wormwood coal. And you like lie on like a hot stone bed with this like magic rock healing you. I so want to go.
If we go there, will we then become the #1 podcast on iTunes?
I mean,
will it
maybe
just cleanse us from like all the toxins?
It really more just talks about like healing properties, but
well, that's fine too.
Yeah, there's like a
for $5, I would lay there all day.
Pyramid room, salt room, an ice room, a charcoal room, an amethyst room. There's one that has like infrared rays.
Oh.
I really, if anyone has gone, please let me know about it. It sounds
we need to start planning our road trip right now.
Yeah, we don't even need a hotel. We can just sleep at the spa.
Yeah, perfect.
And eat Korean food. It sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was a total aside. I just wanted to bring up the presence.
Now I just want to stop what I'm doing and start planning this trip.
Other magic rocks that I stumbled upon.
That's pretty much it for the episode. Let's make sure we rate it.
Oh my goodness, we need to rate it.
So, categories. Mysteriousness.
Pretty mysterious.
Pretty mysterious?
We have 2 unsolved murders.
Mm-hmm.
Love's not mysterious, but an interesting story.
The magic rock?
Magic rock, is that mysterious? I mean, why is it included? That's a mystery. Why is Robert Stack wearing that outfit? That's a mystery.
Sure. Why does this family believe that even though they've been working their ass off, the reason that they have success is because of a rock?
The one time their life doesn't completely suck, they're like, it's not us, it's a rock.
So I'm thumbs up for the murder mysteries. Reenactments.
I love these reenactments.
Amazing.
Yes. I love
so
even the Kurt Sova case, the fashion in that is great. Which we're not talking about fashion, but it all bleeds together. But really...
But the costume design for the reenactments, I mean, just spot on. So good.
Yeah.
The Magic Rock reenactments,
it's really just all about the reg. I liked seeing a little bit of New Mexico, and I love a family gazing adoringly at a rock. That's what I want to watch.
It's so great. It kind of made it seem like that's where they would go have their family picnics, was like around the rock.
Well, if a rock changes your life that much...
I guess
bring it
would.
Offerings. I'd like candles for it. I don't know.
It seems like you could probably bring it home, but maybe it was just so big.
Yeah, it was like wedged in a creek, sort of. I don't know.
Fashion.
But A+.
Lots
Loved
of
it
denim.
all.
Oh, that was a thumbs up for reenactments. Absolutely.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up, as many thumbs as we have.
Yeah, extra thumbs. We'll go buy some more thumbs.
Fashion. A lot of denim. I loved it.
Yeah.
The outfits were pretty great.
The outfits were pretty great. The dress shop that the Johnson family opened was terrible, but you do get to see some good mall walk-in looks.
That's true.
When you go to the candy store or the movie theater that only shows Willow.
That's true.
So,
thumbs up for
thumbs
fashion
up.
too. Robert Stack's outfits. I mean, I appreciated that he finally found something to wear that wasn't a suit, even though his pants were
Thumbs
as high
down.
as it gets.
I hated it.
But yeah, not great. Not great at all.
No,
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
But overall, my rating is 5 out of 5 Robert Stacks.
Oh my God,
I can't give it
yes.
anything else. The
Yes.
Magic Rock episode is segment is so good.
If I was, of episodes we've watched so far, I don't know if I would tell people they have to watch the Kurt McFall one or they have to watch the Magic Rock more. Like, they're
both so good.
They're both so good.
So good.
Yeah. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, a million out of a million.
All the Robert Stacks.
All the Robert Stacks.
All of them. So, Liz, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I do have a recommendation for this week. I'm going to go into Samantha territory and recommend my new favorite podcast, which is called The Fat Feminist Witch.
I already love it.
Yeah, great title. It is hosted by Paige in Canada, who is a Wiccan. She has a very great, conversational, approachable style to her podcast. It has a great tone. And I feel like she talks about her witchy practices in a very, understandable way, like a good, relatable way. I really recommend her Halloween specials. So I haven't listened to all of her episodes yet, but I have been pouring through them. They're really fascinating. I feel like I've learned a lot. Last year, she did a Halloween special sort of explaining witch cliches and where they come from in history, which was so interesting. Why do we think witches fly? Why do we think witches wear pointy hats? Why do witches have black cats? All that kind of stuff.
Right now, that sounds great.
It's really great. Her Halloween special that came out last week was about seances and talking to the dead and sort of the Victorian heyday of seances and that kind of stuff. Super interesting.
I love it.
Yes. She usually recommends a stone and an herb that you can use in spells. Cool. She does book reviews. I think it's a good way to sort of learn more about what people actually do opposed to what we might think witches do.
Sure.
In a I don't know, in a modern, understandable way. I found it totally fascinating. I think I've learned a lot, and she just seems cool.
Say the name again.
It's called The Fat Feminist Witch.
You can find it, I'm assuming, on iTunes.
Yeah, I think anywhere. She has a blog, and I think it's on all of your favorite podcasty apps.
That's great.
That is I've been telling everyone to listen to that, so check it out. I love it.
I'm definitely going to subscribe.
Do.
Very cool. So my recommendation is a book I just finished.
Oh.
And I'm going to give it kind of a hesitant recommendation because I think it's the kind of book that you're either going to love or you're going to hate.
Sure. Okay.
So if you hate it,
it inspires passion.
Don't blame me. It's sci-fi, which is a genre of books that I really like. And it's one that's been on my list for a long time. It's very popular, so it's not obscure or anything. It is called Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. And the reason I read it was because they're making a movie. Actually, the movie's done. It's coming out in February. So I thought, well, I'm going to want to see the movie, so I should read the book first. It's a trilogy, so this is the first part of the trilogy. And the reason I think, well, let me read the synopsis. So I don't know that I totally agree with this, but it says that if J.J. Abrams, Margaret Atwood, and Alan Wiseman collaborated on a novel, it might be this awesome. I don't totally agree with that, but
gives you a sort of an idea.
Sure. Area X has been cut off from the rest of the continent for decades. Nature has reclaimed the last vestiges of human civilization. The first expedition returned with reports of pristine Edenic landscape. All the members of the second expedition committed suicide. The third expedition died in a hail of gunfires as its members turned on one another. The members of the 11th expedition returned to the shadows of their former selves, and within months of their return, all had died of aggressive cancer. This is the 12th expedition. The group is made up of 4 women, an anthropologist, a surveyor, a psychologist, the de facto leader, and a biologist, who is our narrator. The mission goes on to say a little bit about the book, but it's really good. I really liked it. The reason I think some people won't like it is because the narrator is really unreliable, and at times you don't know if what she's telling you is real.
Oh, no, I like that. I like an unreliable
if it's part
narrator.
of her imagination.
Yeah.
A lot of the complaints on the Goodreads reviews say that they don't like that. I really liked it. It's surreal and kind of cerebral, which I like.
Yeah.
And it's part of a trilogy, so a lot of people complain about how they don't feel like it had a satisfactory ending, blah blah blah, which is not a spoiler. But you have to read the rest of the trilogy.
Right. You're kind of only reading a third of the book in a way.
Right. I think, and I haven't gone on. I downloaded the second book, but just by reading like the synopsis of that book, I think it's going to start answering some of the questions you're left with after this book, which is how trilogies work. So I don't know what people are complaining about, but I really liked it. Every character is a female.
That has my interest peaked immediately.
The descriptions, like the author just has really good descriptions, like, you know, which is something that I appreciate in sci-fi or fantasy novels, because they're often describing things that aren't real, you know. So he describes things in a way that's unique but really paints a vivid picture. So I really enjoyed, if nothing else, I enjoyed just sort of the poetic way that he describes and kind of builds the world, you know. It's good. I listened to the audiobook. The narrator for the audiobook is a little monotone, which kind of distracted me at times. I found myself sort of like my mind wandered a little bit when I was listening to this, and not because of the book itself, but I think it was because of the narrator.
Sure.
So be aware of that if you listen to books. It's short. It's a short read. The audiobook was like five hours, which is really short. So I think you could easily consume it in a couple sittings. I already downloaded the second one. It looks like it's going to be good. I watched the trailer for the movie that's coming out, and it looks very interesting. Not how I pictured it at all, but
that's why you got to read it first.
Exactly.
Because you got to, otherwise you're just kind of picturing the movie.
Yeah, but not in a bad way. Like sometimes you read a book and then you see the movie adaptation and you're like, I hate how this is depicted. It's not how I imagined it. But I didn't feel that way watching the trailer. It's going to star Natalie Portman, which is also not how I imagined the main character, but I think she's going to probably do a good job based on the trailer I saw. So yeah, I would recommend Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. The trilogy is the Southern Reach trilogy.
Okay.
And if you read sci-fi, you probably have read this book or at least know about it. If you don't read sci-fi, I recommend it.
Maybe a little something new.
It's one of my favorite genres because, like I've said before, there's often very little romance.
Oh yeah, because Samantha's dedication to hating romance and hating treasure.
Because I'm a cold-hearted bitch and I hate romance.
She only wants mysteries, and
It's almost, the reason I like this book too is because it reads like a thriller, which sometimes sci-fi novels don't. So.
Sure. Okay, here's my question. There's sometimes a barrier between me and, I like sci-fi too, but I'm picky about it.
Sure.
What I hate in a sci-fi book is when they like make up words about the world, and then they're like, he picked up a click-clack, which we might call a fork.
I don't know.
Do you know what I'm talking about? That drives me insane.
Would you call that? Okay, so I'm not a hardcore science fiction person. I think a hardcore science fiction person would say that that's not sci-fi.
Maybe that's
real science fiction has to be grounded in real science in a way. Like not totally,
right,
but like enough that it sounds realistic.
Sure.
Like that almost sounds fantasy to me.
Yeah, it is more of a fantasy
Which I'm
trope.
not the biggest fan of fantasy.
No, me neither. Yeah.
But
I mean, I guess in general, I mostly have read Philip K. Dick, which he doesn't do that usually. But sure. I feel like sometimes when I pick up an author I don't know, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't need to know everything about this alien life.
Some science fiction authors go crazy with the scientific details.
I guess
in a way that it starts to sound like, am I reading a textbook? Like
yeah,
that,
I guess that's what I mean. I'm not super into world building.
Sure.
Like, I like science fiction, I guess more in like a Twilight Zone way, where it's an allegory for something that is rooted in reality. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking for like this whole other thing where I have to learn whatever.
Yeah, you feel like you have to learn.
Yeah.
You have to study
it's like a lot
in
of
order
work.
to get it.
Yes, that's what I'm not. If I need to like know the order of the planets in some other solar system, then I'm like, nope. Like,
I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
That's a lot of work.
I get it. I feel the same way sometimes.
Yeah.
As a consumer of sci-fi. Totally. This one I feel like isn't very much like that, so you may like it.
Okay. I'm intrigued, for sure.
That's our episode.
Thank you for listening, 5 listeners. We appreciate all the support. You can follow us on the social medias. You can email us at perhapsitsyou.podcast@gmail.com. Yes. We are still looking for creepy, spooky stories if something weird has happened to you.
Please
or if you've gone to King Spa. Or if you've seen a magic rock of some kind.
If you have a favorite Korean face mask that you want to recommend,
oh my God,
we'll
please
take
let
that.
us know.
Get in touch.
Please let us know.
Truly, though, we would love to hear your guys' mysteries and do bonus episodes.
Yeah. I
think that would be really fun. We had a few stragglers for our Halloween episode send us some spooky stories, so we have 1 or 2. We'd love other stories, though, and it doesn't have to be spooky. It could be a murder mystery in your town, or your family's legend. Like, we'd love to hear all about that. The time your mom saw a UFO. Like, send us those stories.
Yes.
We would love to read them.
Any sort of paranormal account, any sort of you were on a jury and a weird thing happened at the trial.
Yeah. Send us anything. Even if you think we're not going to like it, we probably will. Send it.
Yeah.
Because we'd love to do...
We're not nearly as picky as we seem.
No. We'd love to do bonus episodes. If your family has a magic rock.
Yeah. If your
please tell us.
Changed for the better suddenly after seeing a rock.
I promise we won't make fun of you
we'll
much.
Try really hard not to. That's what I promise.
Please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps us out. It
we
helps
need
out the
that
podcast a lot. It helps us out personally, and it helps out the podcast.
So true. So get out there, solve some mysteries. Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye. Bye.